start here on number 15 on the back. Just a reminder for what we did yesterday, and then we'll go over today's. Now the plan for the week is to finish up today's assignment, which is another worksheet, but then tomorrow's is going to be Khan Academy on everything, and that's the last assignment for the month, for the week, and for the quarter. Later on, I'm going to pass back a bunch of papers. You just need to file them along with the stuff that you're going to turn in today so that everything is turned in. So first, let's just go over where we started yesterday. We had two types of problems. One of them where we had just equal to a number, and something like 16 where it was equal to like a slope, -3. And we said that both of these and all these problems that we're doing this week can be solved by graphing. Okay, we did everything by graphing, but now we're trying to do it without a graph. So here's how we started it. First, write out the equation, but without the y. So I'm going to write -4x minus 3, leave a little space, and then minus 18. Same thing here. I'm going to go 3x minus 7, leave a little space, equals 24. And the reason this is called substitution method, substitute y, right? Y equals 6, so I'm going to put a 6, substitute a 6 in for y. Same thing here, if y equals -3x, I'm going to put a -3x into here.
Which paper is this?
Okay. And then next we had to simplify a little bit. Okay. And same thing here, we'll get 3x. And be careful with the negative. So if you have two negatives, make sure you get a positive. And up to this point, they're pretty much the same. But once you get here, there's going to be two ways of solving. You can see that there's an x here and a number here, but this one has two variables. So there's two different ways of going about it. First one is what you're familiar with. If it's a -18, we're going to add 18 both sides. And it's okay. Some of you got a little freaked out by this yesterday, but it's okay to get 0. It's not a bad thing. Doesn't mean anything wrong. But if you get 18 minus 18, it equals 0. It's okay. And this is just asking -4 times what is 0, right? Which you can probably already guess is 0. And if you divide both sides by -4, you can prove it is equal to 0. Now, on the other side, it's a little different. You can see that since we have two variables, instead of adding or instead of subtracting 3x or subtracting 21x, we actually just combine them together. Add or subtract them together on the same side. So a little different. And then we don't have to add or subtract on both sides. You just go straight to dividing. So x equals 1. Now these are both partial answers. We have not answered the question yet. Because remember, these are where the answer is where they both intersect. So it's actually a coordinate comprised of an x answer and a y answer. So we figured out on number 15 that y equaled 0. And we were actually given at the very beginning that x equals 0, and we were given at the very beginning that y equals 6. So make sure you write your final answer in this format, in coordinate form, like this. Okay? Same thing over here, but we're not given the answer. Like here, we're given y equals 6. Here, we're given that the answer y is equal to -3 times what we got for x. So it's basically the same thing, but a little bit of extra. But instead of saying, oh, the answer is just this, we actually have to plug in our x value. So we're going to get y equals -3 times 1, so y equals -3. So there we go. Our final answer is that. Okay. So that's yesterday's assignment. If you haven't finished this, make sure you finish this first, and then we can go over to today's assignment, which is going to be similar. So look, yesterday we had it equal to like a number, and we had it equal to like a slope, like this negative 3x. Today's assignment here, your problems are going to be equal to like negative 6x plus 8 or 4x minus 22. So it's just a little bit bigger to plug in. It's not just going to be like a number or a slope. In the middle of each problem, you're going to end up with an equation like this. So the first thing you want to do is just practice solving some of these bigger equations to refresh our memory and to watch out for mistakes, common mistakes. So let's start off with number 1 here. You can start writing this down. And remember that the first thing you want to do is distribute. So start off by distributing the 7 to the x and to the negative 6. So 7 times x, 7x, and 7 times negative 6 is negative 42. Okay? So just multiply out. Bring down everything else. So just bring down the x plus, we didn't touch that. And same thing here, bring down the equals negative 90. And just like we just practiced, if you have variables on the same side, right, we had 1x plus 7x, that equals 8x. So the second step is going to be to combine the variables that are on the same side. And again, only do one step per line here. Don't try to rush through it and try to do many things at once. It only takes one negative to go wrong, and then the problems, you'll have the wrong answer. Okay? And the rest of this you already know. You don't really need to watch me do this. Just go through it yourself and then maybe check. Because it's just a routine. If it's subtraction, make sure you add. And then do the work off to the side. So we got 90 minus 42. So we'll get 8. And 8 minus 4 is 4. So we get negative 48. And lastly, divide by the coefficient. X equals negative 6. Alright, so go through those same steps. Okay. First distribute. Alright, multiply. Okay. Then you combine the terms. Combine x's. Okay. Then you're going to add or subtract. And lastly, you're going to divide. So every problem is going to pretty much be in that order. Sometimes you'll get some zeros and things like that that'll be slightly different, but for the most part, that's going to be the same thing on every one. Right, so go ahead and do 2, 3, and 4, and we'll walk around and check, just make sure we got it. If you get these, then you'll probably be set to start on the problems below. And so go ahead and do 2, 3, and 4 right now. We'll come around and check. Let me go over some of these, actually all of them, just to make sure you have it. Make sure I'm doing them right too, because again, it doesn't take very much to make a mistake on these. So I got negative 48. I have minus 16m. And then bring down everything else. So first thing is just to distribute, and then you rewrite everything else. Okay. Second, combine the variables. So this is a negative 16 and a negative 8. So don't forget that 16 is negative, so that's negative 24m. And again, bring down everything else. Just doing one step per line, not trying to rush through it. Then we can do the adding, subtracting both sides. It's a negative 48, so I'm going to add 48. Cancel it out. Alright, so that's 0. So I got negative 24 times what equals negative 96. And then we divide by the coefficient on both sides. 96 divided by 24. You get positive 4, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Positive 4. Let's look at number 3. Alright, so let's go to number 3. Same thing, you'll probably get better at now. Distribute. So we have 20 plus 15x. Bring down everything else. Negative 5x equals 100. This time the variables are not next to each other. There's a negative 5 here and a positive 15 here. So you get 15 minus 5, which is 10. Bring down everything else, the plus 20, and equals 100. Now we can add or subtract. This time it's a positive, so we're going to do a negative. Minus 20 both sides. And we have left over 10 times what? Equals 80. And then divide both sides by 10 to prove that the answer is equal to 8. Okay? So number 4, very similar, but be careful that this is a negative in front. So it's really negative 7 times negative r, which is positive 7r. Negative 7 times positive 5 is negative 35. So the thing here is the negatives, be very careful on them. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 7 is negative. Okay. So we have two variables, combine those together, bring down everything else. We're going to add 35 both sides. So we have 9r. 9 times what? Equals negative 63. And then divide everything by 9. So r equals negative 7. Very close. Gotta have the negative. Okay? So we're going to basically be doing one of these on every single problem. So let's go down to number 6 and actually put it all together. So let's take what we've already done, start off the same way, and then we'll complete it the same way we have, just with a little more solving. So we have y equals 7x minus 21. So I'm going to rewrite everything but leave out the y. So I got negative x minus, leave out the y, leave a little space too, and write equals negative 11. And then the y we know equals 7x minus 21. So we're going to put in parentheses 7x minus 21 for y. And you can see this is just how we practiced on number 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have to distribute, we have to combine terms, we have to add, subtract, and divide. So here we go. Don't forget that this is a negative 1. A negative is the same as a negative 1. So we have negative 7x plus 21. All right, bring down everything else. We have variables on the same side. So it's a negative 1 and a negative 7. So that equals negative 8. So you can see how this is basically what we just practiced above. So this part we already know. If you kind of know how to do the rest of it, just go ahead and try it on your own. And then check up here.
Would it be the negative 1 and the negative 7 equal positive 8?
When you're subtracting the negative state. When you're multiplying the negatives, it cancel out. So we get x equals positive 4. Again, the negative over negative does equal positive. When you're multiplying and dividing, notice that this negative and this negative still equals negative 8. That's subtraction. It's kind of like if you owe $1, you owe 7 more dollars. Altogether, you owe 8. Stays negative. All right, but now, unlike above, we're not finished. We only have one of our answers. Remember, answer is x and y. We only know y equals 4. But we know from above, the y equals 7 times x minus 21. So now that we have an x equal to 4, I can go and plug it in here. So I have y equals 7 times 4 for x minus 21. (28) minus 21, y equals 7. And what would it look like if you graph these two lines, by the way? So let's recall from yesterday, we did this as well. If you plug it in, y equals 7x minus 21, and negative x minus y equals negative 11, where do they intersect? No surprise. Right? Our answer that we got, 4, 7 right there, that's where they intersect. So remember, all these we could have done last week by graphing. We're just doing a different method this week, but it's the same problems that you've been doing. So we can always check it just by where do they intersect. But you'll notice that if you did try to graph these, I mean, look at the y-intercepts. They're like, you know, way down here at 21 and up here at 11. So you can see as soon as you get some big numbers, it's going to get harder and harder to graph them and see where they intersect. And that's why we have this other method, is because graphing sometimes is too difficult. Okay. But it is the exact same answer. Okay, so that's one. Do you want to do another, or do we feel good? What do you think? One more or start working? One more. All right, let's pick one off the back. You guys pick it. 12? All right, let's do number 12. If you know how to do it on your own, of course, just work quietly. It's fine. We would have found out anyway. Let's try that again. So this was a plus 7. So when you distribute, we actually do get negative 21. And we get negative 77. Very good eye. Okay, so bring down everything else. Variables combined together, we have a negative 7 and negative 21, which together is negative 28. Bring down everything else, the minus 77, the equal 7. So I'm only doing one step per line, no more. Let's add 77 both sides. We get 84. And let's divide both sides by negative 28. Now, if you can't do 84 divided by 28, what are some alternatives to get that answer? Maybe just get a calculator. So we get 3. All right. Is that the right answer? Close. Yeah, watch those negatives. So it's a positive divided by a negative, negative 3. So you see how easy to look at that and say, oh yeah, calculator says 3, and then you make a mistake. So it's going to be a cautious person that's going to do well on this. All right, now we're halfway done. We have y equals negative 3 minus 11. So y is going to equal negative 3 times negative 3 minus 11. So you see the end part here is a little bit bigger than yesterday where we had to just basically multiply 2 numbers. This you have to do a little more work. So we get our full answer. Don't forget to write your answer. This is what I'm looking for when I'm checking your work, by the way. I'm looking for this parenthesis, x comma y in the right order. Okay, that'll let me know, of course, all the work as well, that you've done it right. Okay, so you want to finish this up by the end of the period, show it to me, and go ahead and start Khan Academy. If you don't finish it today, it's okay. You still have tomorrow and Thursday.